the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and Tavallaey. On today's show, we will react to the weekend Serie A action as a Lautaro Martinez rocket wins the big Sunday evening game against Roma, putting the Romans into crisis. Napoli, though, stay top of Serie A with another win as they narrowly beat an excellent Empoli side 1-0. Juventus just about beat 10-man Lazio with a late Mario Gila own goal, and 10-men Milan beat Udinese 1-0 as Tammy Abraham and Fikayo Tomori were dropped for disciplinary reasons. Mateo Retegui can't stop scoring for Atalanta, while Fiorentina hit Lecce for 6. We'll look ahead to the Champions League match day 3, and we'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. It was something of a premdemic over the international break. For all of our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including our weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month, plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It's the same price, same terms. For all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like, and do subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We do put content there that we don't have elsewhere. All of that really helps us to grow and do more quality content. Okay, let's get into today's show. So we'll start off with the Sunday evening game at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. Roma against Inter. Inter win 1-0 thanks to a rocket of a goal from Lautaro Martinez. So let's start there from the Inter point of view, Nima. And this is a big, big win for Inter, and it's a big goal from Lautaro Martinez.
Well, excuse me. Before the the international break, I said that we'll start to understand where Inter season goes when we go right into it after the Roma game, because that's a must-win game, because it's a game that Inter would have probably won last season. They didn't dominate like they did last season, but they created more than enough chances to win, and they defended well. I think they looked really, really good defensively, although Jan Sommer did give everyone a heart attack early on. But they did create chances. They kind of imposed themselves on the game, but they still don't feel like they're fully match fit yet. And now with injuries again, you've got Acerbi with a muscle injury. Çalhanoğlu hopefully said, Inzaghi said after the game that hopefully he caught that in time. But they still managed to win. And that's the most important thing there for Inter. There were some, not just in this game, but the refereeing. I remember saying before that match day 7 was horrible. The 6 first days were great, and match day 7 they lost it. Well, match day 8 was a complete shit show. It was a complete shit show. You have 2 last man red cards in Romagnoli and Reinders. You don't have it here with Cristante. You've got penalties given in one game that were not given in other games that were far more penalties. You have punches in stomachs when balls aren't there. The VAR was sleeping. And it's annoying, because this is exactly everything we were fearing, that they're going to turn the league into a shit show. And again, Cristante, a last man challenge on Thuram, that has to be a red card if Romagnoli and those others are as well. These are all happening in the same rounds. And it seems that whatever Rocchi needed to do over the international break, he's not done it well enough. And they're not applying their own set of standards across the board. And this is what creates problems in the Serie A. But, we'll get to all those other discussions when we get to those games. But I feel Inter, I wasn't worried when watching this game, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I think Inter have shown incredible maturity in terms of growth, and they're a big team now. They struggle, but they win. They have injuries, but they have depth, and they manage to resolve them. These problems, but it was an important win for Inter for sure. Not the best of wins, not the most convincing of wins, but it was a win. And above all, finally, they kept a clean sheet. And Stefan de Vrij, I have to say, I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch when he came on.
Yeah, I thought that was the biggest positive from the game for Inter was their defence. I thought they defended very, very well because I didn't think it was a great performance from Inter. Their midfield, I didn't think they played very well in midfield. I know they've got injuries and they never really controlled the game, but they were very, very strong defensively and that was probably the reason why they won this game, as well as obviously Roma. We'll come to Roma in a bit. It was two terrible mistakes that led to the Inter winner. In terms of negatives for Inter, I thought up until the goal, Inter really didn't really create much at all. They had because I was watching closely. They had a 0.3 xG until the goal. And even the goal itself was really a piece of world class brilliance after two mistakes. But then they could. But then having said that, they could have should have killed off the game after. Dumfries had a couple of good chances. So it was a tight game. It was a very fiercely contested game. I think it probably on the balance of play, it probably a draw probably would have been a more fair result. But I think Inter definitely, they took a step forward in terms of solidity, in terms of defensively, and also now they've got 3 wins in a row since that Milan loss. So they've recovered very well from the loss in the derby, and they've put a run of 3 wins together, which sets up the game against Juventus, the Derby d'Italia this weekend, really nicely for them. So I think it's a positive for Inter. The biggest negative obviously is the injuries, which we'll come to in a bit because we've got a segment on that. 2 injuries in the first 25 minutes. But for me, I think if we can move on to Roma now, I think that the biggest talking point is Roma, really, more so than Inter in this game. We saw the limitations of Roma again. Everything that I've said why I'm worried for them this season, we saw that in this game because I think overall, I think they did all right in this game. I think they deserved a draw. They actually had a higher XG than Inter in this game. But at the same time, they didn't do enough really overall in both offensively and defensively. If we talk about them defensively, that's just a complete disaster. The goal that they concede, it's a horror show. Zalewski slips over in his own half, which allows Inter to counter. You just can't make a mistake that Zalewski makes. And then Celik, what the hell is he doing? He comes across on the top of the penalty area to intercept the ball, and he just passes it straight to Lautaro. You just cannot make those kind of defensive mistakes. That's just that's unforgivable. So that's the defensive side of things. They've given away a goal. Then we go the other side of the pitch to the offensively, and they really have a scoring problem because even in a game like this where they did okay. How many clear chances did they create in this game? How many big saves did Sommer have to make in this game? But virtually nothing.
Nothing.
And that's on their that's on their attack. And you look at the bigger picture. Roma have 8 goals in 8 games this season in Serie A. They have 9 goals in 10 games in all competitions. That's including in 2 Europa League games. They have 1 goal in their last 3 matches, 4 games where they failed to score in. They've spent all that money on attackers, and they've spent almost 70 million on Dovbyk and Sule. And, they look like they have talent in attack. They've got Dybala, they've got Dovbyk, they've got Baldanzi, who came on and looked quite lively when he came on. They've got Sule that came on. They've got attackers there. But, as I've said since the start of the season, when people were criticising me for criticising the transfer market, there's no, the pieces don't fit together in a workable
There's
jigsaw.
nothing coherent here. You had De Rossi there, and then you unceremoniously got rid of him, and he wasn't happy with what he had. He wanted to get rid of Dybala, it seemed. But then they didn't. And now you got Juric there, and I don't see how you bring in Ivan Juric and after one of your big splashes in the summer was Matthias Soler. He doesn't fit into his football, at least not from what I thought beforehand. And we're seeing that kind of play out now as well. He's a wide winger in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, however you want to say it, but he can't play in the system. It just doesn't work. And so you're going to bench him? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And it's, I wonder if what they do now with Sule. Because are they going to sack Juric now? Okay, well then who do you bring in?
We have a question in the Q&A episode about Sule, whether him or Douglas Luiz is the bigger flop this season. So let's kind of park that. And, for those of you that want to listen, subscribe to us on Patreon, $2.99 a month. And we that's one of our questions, many questions that we get in what's become it's actually become our most popular episode now.
Yeah, it is.
It's our Q&A, where we get all these great questions where we can go into stuff deeper than we do on this episode. So we will talk about that. But I agree, Sule's a big problem. And he only gets brought on with like 10 minutes to go when they're chasing the game, as basically as their last sub as well. So, again, it's the construction of the team and the construction of the attack is the reason, why they're struggling to create and score goals. And then when you add in Ivan Juric as well, who the numbers show it throughout his career, has struggled to create chances and score goals, then again, it's going to be difficult. There's lots of concerns, undeniable concerns for the Roma fans. And we saw that before. We saw that, didn't we? That the Curva went on a protest. They didn't enter the stadium until 15 minutes into the game as a protest against the ownership, against the Friedkins, against the decisions they've been making with the coaches, sacking De Rossi, the competency of the board of the club, the transfer market, the owners now getting involved with Everton. It's a concern.
It's turning into a Roman nightmare for them. Again, you sacked Mourinho, who was the most popular coach they've had since Capello. You kind of mitigate that by bringing in De Rossi, the blowback from that. He does well. You permanently appoint him, and then you get rid of De Rossi like that. It's just, this was going. If they were going to get rid of De Rossi, they should have done it last summer or in the summer when the season ended. Then they wouldn't have been as bad, because you'd have a whole summer. You can kind of say, well, he was a traghettatore. He was just coming in to, see the season through, and we want to go elsewhere, and that's fine. It wouldn't have been popular, but it would have been understandable, and people would have moved on. You permanently appoint De Rossi. After Totti, in the modern age, there is nobody. De Rossi is a king there. He's incredibly popular. You can't do that at a club like Roma. And now it's all kind of exploding in their faces. And then, whilst all of this is going on, they've bought another club in the Premier League. It's turning into a complete and utter Roman shit show.
Yeah, they're 10th. They're 10th in the table now. Just look at the 2 wins in 10 matches this season in all competitions. And
it's
those
chaotic,
wins,
complete chaos.
Those wins were against bottom of the table Venezia and against the team Udinese, who, although they've had a good start to the season, are again a team that kind of, they're there to survive and fight against relegation. It's been a very, very difficult start to the season, and I think it's right. They're calling it a crisis in Italy. I think it's right to call it a crisis, not just based on the results, but just like everything.
All of it. Everything I just detailed, everything I just listed is why you call it a crisis. And I wonder how they get themselves out of this, because, okay, the best way to calm everyone down is by winning games. But and I'm sure they will get back to winning form. They'll sort it out. But it's all these other things that will annoy that piazza. And it's a very special piazza.
Sure, yeah. Listen, I think that they're going to finish top 6, top 7.
Yeah, me too.
Because there isn't really any other teams that can. Do you know what I mean? But if we think, they're just not going to be in the top 4. There's just no chance of them.
No, not like this.
And that's the challenge. It's depressing. Not so much that they're not going to get in the top 4. It's depressing that we're in the middle of October, and I think everybody realizes that the season's over in terms of top 4. It's just not going to happen. We can see the problems and the weaknesses are too clear, And I think that's depressing, isn't it? That you've already kind of given up on the season by
in the
middle
league.
October, and
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. That is,
and that will piss off. And that's another thing, because they were really excited about their season. They had De Rossi, they bought some players that excited the fan base. They were at the airport, and that stuff that fans like to do in Italy. But then it all just kind of, the wheels came off, and the wheels feel like they're coming off of this Friedkin project, the sporting wise. And I wonder, what are they going to do now? Are they going to?
Well, the fact that they bought Everton gives them, I don't want to say a backup option, but it gives them something that they can go to if they want to get out of Roma now. Do you know what I mean?
But I don't care about that. My point is exactly that. That's a problem for Roma. With all due respect to Everton, I don't give a shit about them. I'm talking about Roma and what happens to Roma. And when they've got something else that they care more about that brings in more money, then what the hell is going to happen?
That's what I mean. I mean, in terms of what their ambitions are going forward, maybe they think, well, you know what, we've bought Everton. Now we can actually get out of Roma. Like, we've got something else to do. So let's just, maybe they put I don't know. Maybe they put.
I hope they sell the club at this point. I really do. I think if it's going to be like this, then they might as well just cut their losses and sell Roma to somebody who's committed to the Roma project, because Roma deserve it, and Rome deserves it, and Serie A deserves it, and that fan base deserves it. And you can't have an ownership that gets these important things wrong time after time.
Having said that, though, they spent the money this summer like they did have ambitions. It wasn't, they didn't, not, you can't say they didn't.
Yeah, but it wasn't coherent.
Spend the money. It's just that they were incompetent in the
and it wasn't coherent. There was no coherent strategy, and the new sporting director and what, I mean, it just feels
the chaos
so
with De Rossi, which was incompetence as well, by
the way they handled
it. That woman handled it.
Well, that woman got her marching orders afterwards, didn't she? Or did she resign, or what happened? She got her pink slip. But no, it's not good at all, and I hope for Roma's sake they sort it out.
I'll tell you what else isn't good is the number of injuries in football. We already did a couple of weeks ago. I did an interview about the ACL epidemic in football. But if we look at injuries as a whole, it's a huge problem. There's a massive injury crisis at so many Italian clubs right now. Juventus are completely decimated. I mean, they can barely put out a bench right now. I mean, it's horrific, Juventus' injury crisis. Inter now as well, decimated in midfield. They lost 2 players in the first 25 minutes of this game against Roma, with Çalhanoğlu and Anacerbi, and they've already got a lot of injuries in midfield already. Atalanta, I mean, their Scudetto chances were destroyed before the season even began because of injury. 2 ACLs to Scamacca and Scalvini, and their defence is completely decimated right now. They've got so many players out in defence. Bologna, completely decimated. They're without half their first team at the moment. Genoa, if they're not enough in crisis already, they're without 7 first-team players. It's horrific, their injury crisis. I could go on and on. That's just in Serie A. If you want to go around Europe and see all the injury problems around Europe in other leagues, we've got Euro 2024 that we saw. I mean, Italy were decimated for that tournament. So many key players injured. The Netherlands, the same. I mean, the football was really bad. The teams looked exhausted. All the big teams I thought were really poor, except for Spain and maybe Germany weren't too bad. There's that. And then there's what is becoming a really, really big discussion point now around Europe, is the increase in games around Europe. This season, the Champions League increased by 4 games a season, 2 more group games, an extra knockout round. There's this ridiculous Club World Cup at the end of the season. The World Cup's been expanded from 32 to 48 teams. The Nations League has replaced friendlies. It's the same number of games, but they're more competitive games. And we haven't had, as I've said so many times on this, but we haven't had a proper season break since before the COVID pandemic, since the summer of 2019. That's the last time that the players actually had a proper break, either in the summer or a season break before the new season started. So this has all led to a lot of complaints. Rodri said earlier this season, talking about the threat of strike. And then I saw Marotta was very strong with his words before the game against. This was before the game against Roma, by the way, before these 2 injuries. And he said, and I'll read out his quotes, he said, there have been circa 100 injuries for players who also have international duty, and we need to safeguard their health. It is not an easy situation because we need to sit around the table and recognise that the fixture list has to be cut back. What we need and currently do not have is a single place where all those involved can meet and discuss it together. There are activities for clubs, for UEFA, for FIFA, and that confrontation has only just begun. The number of games must be reduced because the pace of the sport is now so high that it leads to more errors and more injuries, far superior to the average that we've seen in previous years. So I'm going to make this very simple. I'm going to ask this very simple to Nima. Should footballers go on strike?
I think it's if it continues like this, it'll be inevitable. I mean, I've said it many, many times when we've discussed this topic that something horrible will happen before something is done, and I'm scared that I'm scared that we will end up there soon.
Well, hasn't something already horrible happened?
No, I mean horrible as in death. Someone will die, like permanently injure themselves in a very horrible way, because before they do something about it. Unfortunately, that's just how it works. That they don't do anything to stop something horrible happening, but once it happens, then everyone takes then they have to stop and calm down. But I think we're headed towards a tragedy, and a tragedy that will lead to something being done, because the only other option is extending the squad sizes to 25, 27, 28, up to 30 in order to be able to handle this, because it's too many games.
Marotta was asked that as well, by the way. He was asked that, and he basically kind of said what I think, which is it's not really workable, because it's just not workable from logistically, and also from in terms of how do you it's impossible to train. You can't train 30 players. It's impossible. It's just not workable on a training ground, and some clubs can't afford it either. And also what will happen is, because the stakes are so high, and because if you're challenging for titles or you're playing big knockout games, you end up playing your best players. You don't rotate and rest players, because you want to win. And so I don't think that would work either.
No, I don't think so either. But that's the only other option. But yeah, I do think that they should do something. I think the players' unions should put their feet down. And I think they'll probably have support from the clubs here as well, to a certain extent, because clubs don't enjoy paying players high wages, when they can't play them because they're injured. And they need to work this out. The number of games need to be reduced. My position. I think we should go back to an 18-team Serie A. I like the new format of the Champions League, but I think there's too many teams in it. I'd like to keep the format, but keep it like it was before, with 6 games. And yeah, that's pretty much where I am with it.
I think that this Club World Cup at the end of the season, the players now, they need to really put their foot down and just say, we're not playing it. Enough is enough. It's a joke. We haven't even played this Club World Cup, and look at the number, the increase in injuries and the increase in ACL injuries, and we know that fatigue and exhaustion is the biggest factor with ACL injuries, because it weakens the muscles and it puts too much pressure on like the ACL, and that's what happens. We haven't even played the Club World Cup, and we're already the epidemic, the ACL epidemic, and this injury epidemic is already. It's there to be seen. We've seen the numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. We haven't even played the Club World Cup yet. What's going to happen once we played that Club World Cup, and we have another summer with no break, and then we go into the 2026 World Cup, an expanded World Cup, where there's another summer without break, and then we go into that. Can you imagine that Can you imagine the 2026-27 season, when we've had 6 years in a row with no break? I mean, you think it's bad now with injuries? What's it going to be like then? It's just absurd. If I'm the players, put your foot down, say we're not playing. And if you are, and if they do end up going, if I'm a player and my team is going to, I'm just faking injury.
I don't think it's the Club World Cup as such. I think that's just too reactionary to just look at that and point at that. It's all of it.
It's all of it, yes. But
this is what I'm saying.
Using that as an example.
I know. But I'm saying if you want to do something properly, because, okay, remove the Club World Cup. That's 3 games group stages, potentially 8 games all along. Fine, I get that. That's not a lot. The problem is the Nations League. The problem is more games in the Champions League. That never stops, just keeps going, rolling every single week because of an increase there. Too many games in the leagues. Like, if you're going to do something, you need to do it across the board. I think the Champions League format is great with the way that the draw is, not having group stages like that, but a league stage, fewer games. I think the Serie A has no business being 20 teams. It should be 18. The Nations League needs to be abolished. It's as simple as that. It's a stupid waste of a tournament.
Well, to be honest with the Nations League, it isn't increasing the games. All it is just making them slightly more competitive, because those friendlies were still there. There hasn't been an increase in games with the Nations League. So I don't think that's the least.
The intensity has increased because if you remember during friendlies, the top players didn't used to get called up, or they could not go or whatever. This is stupid.
Yeah, the intensity increase, but I think that's the least of the problems. The big problems is the increase in games, because everything else has expanded. The World Cup has expanded, 32 to 48. The Champions League has expanded.
That's once every 4 years. That's not the issue. The issue is, like I said, there's too many games being played at club level. And of course, with the Nations League now turning the friendlies, what used to be the friendly break, into more competitive games that actually mean something, where you can qualify for tournaments, and the World Cup on top of that, Club World Cup on top of that. No, they need to get rid of the Nations League.
One physio said, and I actually think he has a point, that actually by increasing to 5 subs from 3 subs is actually causing more injuries than with 3. And the reason why is because you've got 5 subs, players are coming on, the intensity of the games are much more intense than they were before, because players are coming on. 5 players are coming on in the second half of matches, and are super fit and can run more, can sprint more, and are increasing the intensity of the game. And for especially against the tired players, and that is actually leading to more injuries, because the games are even more intense because of the extra subs, and that is actually leading to more injuries than 3 subs, where you had more tired players on the pitch, and the level and the intensity of the game dropped as the game went.
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point, but I would need some data to back that up. I'm not saying it's not right, but I would need some more data to back that up. But it's an interesting point, and I think it should be looked at. My point is simply there are too many games across the club and international level, and they need to cut it down or extend or make the squads bigger. But that's not sustainable because clubs can't afford that. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, Serie A, all these other clubs, all these leagues need to address one of these issues. The Premier League will never in a gajillion years accept to going to an 18-team league. It's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And I don't think the Serie A, the small clubs, you'll never find a majority in the Serie A to do that either. You're just never going to do that. It's never going to happen. So the question remains, okay, well, the Champions League, you can keep the format but reduce it to the same number of teams as it was before. The Nations League is stupid. No one cares. Literally, no one cares. Get rid of that. And as for the qualifiers for the World Cups and Euros, I actually think what Arsene Wenger suggested a couple of years ago is spot on. Have it at the end of the season, like a tournament. Like where you play all the qualifiers all at once, and you don't.
That I agree with, because
but you don't have home and away. Instead, you have, like, say for example, you divide all the club teams or nations in Europe into as many groups as they have now, but you host a tournament in different countries in the summer where they play once, not home and away, once over a couple of weeks, and they go to whoever wins the group goes blah blah blah, and then you have the playoffs if you finish second. You know what I mean, like that. But have it like a tournament like that at the end of the season instead of this, and no more home and away, just one-off games like a tournament, mini tournament.
Yeah,
that reduces it. It makes it more interesting.
What, you're talking about qualifying here?
Yeah, qualifiers. Turn the qualifiers to the World Cup and Euros into like a mini tournament at the end of the season.
I don't know if I agree on the home and away, but I do agree.
No, you play it at a neutral venue.
Yeah,
like
I'm not. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I do agree with playing it with playing it in all in one go, because then you get rid of the travel, and I think that also impacts on injuries. The travel, the exhaustion, especially players coming from traveling long distances. South
or you
America.
can do it like the Champions League format does it, like the new one does now, where you have a long league where they play. Well, the league stage is 8 games. Some you have home, some you have away. The top 16 go through. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's ways around that.
At the end of the day, whatever they do, they're only going to do it if it's financially gonna
they could do that. That would be financially.
You would never ever sell it in a boardroom to anybody. Well, we're going to reduce the number of games for player safety. But you're going to lose loads of money. Well, no, it's not what you say. But it's not what you're going to say. But it's what they're going to think.
But how are they going to think that this is
because they're going to lose money. That's why
they're not going to lose money. They're not.
They are. You reduce a Premier League season or Serie A.
I'm not talking about the Premier League. I'm not
talking
about that. I'm talking about the international football. As I said, I literally said like a minute ago, you're never ever going to find a majority in the Premier League or the Serie A or the Liga or the Bundesliga or La Liga to reduce the leagues from 20 to 18. It's never going to happen. But what you can do is you can reduce the number of games at international level, like the Nations League, get rid of the Club World Cup. You can, when it comes to the international break, when it comes to qualifiers, you can reduce that by creating like a tournament, a mini tournament where you don't play home and away. You either play like a tournament like that, or you have like 6 venues, 6 countries that host it, and everyone plays each other once, or you do it like the Champions League version that we have now, where you play one team once, you do the draw like they do the Champions League, and you have a league stage where the top 16 go through, places 17 to 32 have a playoff. You reduce the games and you create more hype around it, if you know what I mean. That you can market and sell more than having Sweden travel to Liechtenstein and Liechtenstein travel to Sweden. I mean, it's just that does not bring any revenue. I can guarantee you that much.
No.
So my point is, you can do it by being smarter. There are solutions.
Yeah, but that's just international football you're talking about. That's not
club football. Because then you would reduce that by quite a lot.
Yeah, but that's just international football. That's not club football. The money's in club football, unfortunately, and that they're not going to accept. Any.
Yeah, the leagues won't do it. There's never gonna. It's never gonna. I don't even talk about that.
The leagues are not going to do it. UEFA's not going to do it, and the money.
I think it should be 18, but it's never going to happen. So it's pointless to talk about. My point is, keep the format of the Champions League, but reduce the teams to what it was a year ago.
The problem is there's too many club games. There's not too many international games. There isn't. There hasn't been an increase in.
I look at it the number of games in total for the players, and given that it's impossible to reduce the number of club games, then you have to reduce somewhere else. The Nations League is something new. It didn't exist. It doesn't need to exist. You can change the number of qualifiers.
I don't think that international football should suffer because club football just wants to keep increasing the number of games. I don't think so. I don't think international, because there hasn't been an increase in games in international football. Yes,
but it's the number of games total.
I know, but the reason the number of games in total was more is because there's been ridiculous increase in club games. International football, yes, I do agree that they can restructure it and maybe do it in like one chunk. Maybe play all the games in a 1 month period, and maybe there's a different way of organising it, like you've suggested. But I think ultimately they need to decrease the number of club games. They have to. It's absurd.
Well, and
players are playing 70 club games a season. Forget that international games. Some people playing 60 to 70 club games a season. Even if you're playing no international games at all, that's too many games. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, we something needs to be done about it. That's for sure. I'm sure this topic will come up again. Let's move on to Juventus versus Lazio on Saturday. Juventus win 1-0. The crucial thing, I think, we're talking this from Juventus, is that point of view is that they got the win. That was absolutely vital. Obviously, the match is conditioned by Romagnoli's red card, and after 24 minutes as the last man for tripping Kalulu, Juventus struggled to create again, and we kind of saw the limitations of this Juventus team in this game again, in that, quite sterile and kind of lack of quality in attack, especially in the first half. The second half was a bit better. There was a bit more intensity. They did create a couple of big chances. Vlahovic hit the bar and Douglas Luiz missed a sitter with a header. But really, that was it. It was those two chances. And for long periods, Lazio was so comfortable and really looked like they were going to get the point. And it was only a mistake, really, from Gila. I mean, it's a cross into the box, and it's a bad mistake from Gila. That's the only reason Juventus win this game, because of that mistake. Otherwise, I think Lazio probably see out and draw this game. And I think that the takeaway from Juventus is, yes, they were decimated, and that probably played a role in them kind of struggling to create that much. But I think that this shows that they have to go out and sign at least one, maybe even two, if they can somehow financially make it work, attacking players in January, because otherwise then I don't think they're going to score enough goals this season to really maintain a challenge. They need. I mean, it could be down to the injuries a little bit, but I think that the attack needs to improve a lot, and we've seen. And I think this is a little bit unfair. We've seen Yildiz get a lot of criticism in Italy after his performance. Massimo Mauro absolutely hammered him after the game, saying he's a Chiesa who came out wrong, too predictable. He's too predictable on the left, and hammering him his numbers this season. He hasn't scored in Serie A this season so far. So I don't know. I think that Juventus were sterile in this game.
No, they were sterile, and it's kind of expected that with a number of players away. But we've also seen them when they had those players that this is how Thiago Motta does. If everybody who was celebrating and dancing on the grave of Max Allegri because Thiago Motta was going to come and play champagne football, well, here's your champagne. Hope you like it. Tastes a bit like Allegri's Tuscan wine, doesn't it? But this is how it's going to look. Juventus aren't going to, under him, they're going to be stable. They're going to be like a machine. They're just going to keep going, and grind results down, and they're not going to entertain anyone.
What do you think of the Yildiz criticism?
I think this has been a big talking point. The thing is this is typical of Inter, Juve, and Milan. This is why young players cannot. This is not a good environment for young players to grow in, because there's no patience. There is no patience at Juve, Inter, and Milan, where young players are allowed to not score goals and assists and blah blah blah, and learn on the job. There is no patience at these clubs, and so the sporting directors know this, and so they go after the seasoned veterans. I think there is something to criticize him over. I didn't think he was very good in this game. I think saying he's a Chiesa who came out wrong is ridiculous. I think that's way over the top. Yes, he was too predictable, and I agree. I think he is a number 10 more than anything. But he's 19 and he is a talented player, and I think we should give him more than 6, 7, 8 games before we start hammering him like that. But then again, in Italy, this is the culture. We know that this is how young players, this is how they educate and raise their young players to do this. This is it's baptism by fire. If you're the number 10 at Juve, there's responsibility attached to that. You have to deliver. And if you don't, you're going to get criticized, and you have to take on that criticism and improve. That's how they this old school mentality is how it's always been running in all of Italian football, and especially in the big three. Yeah. But I do think it's utterly ridiculous. I
agree with that in general. But I do think at the same time that it shows that Juventus are certainly lacking guarantees in attack that Inter have, that Milan have. I'd probably put Juventus maybe on the same kind of level offensively as Napoli, maybe slightly below. because Carrara is a phenomenon. But you look at Yildiz, 19 years old. Even if he's going to have great games like the one against PSV, he's never going to be. You're not going to get consistency from a 19-year-old. And those numbers, 1 goal, 2 assists in 10 games, show that we can't expect him to put out amazing numbers to lead Juventus, say, to a Scudetto. Vlahovic, I thought in this game Vlahovic had a couple of decisive moments. I mean, he did the pass for Kalulu for the red card, and he did do the pre-assist for Cabal for the cross that led to the goal. So, that's good. But overall, in terms of his overall performance, especially in closed games like this, we saw the limitations of Vlahovic again. And then, there's no backup for him, really, at all. And then on the right, okay, both Conceição and Gonzalez are out. But we're seeing that the Juventus, offensively, they are certainly lacking compared to the other teams at the top of Serie A, I think. And I think that was quite clear again in this game for sure. So I think, I saw Di Canio say this last week that Juventus should try and sign Zirkzee on loan in January, and I agree with him. I think they should. I think they should try and get him on loan. I think it's a doable deal because he's having a horror show at Man United. He's not getting in the team. I mean, Højlund's going to be the starter, and he's not doing well. He doesn't seem fitted to Ten Hag's system. Well, if he has a system, that is. And he might be available on loan, on a cheap loan, till the end of the season. And there you have it. You have your backup. You have your alternative to Vlahovic, who can't play every game. He's playing virtually every game now, Vlahovic, because there is no one else that can play. And that's going to affect him even more over the long run. I would try and sign Zirkzee in January.
No, they do need a striker. There's no doubt about that. There was, Calimuendo we were talking about last week. So they definitely need a striker. That's the one area that Giuntoli didn't have money to buy. But no, they do win, but and they another clean sheet because of course Lazio didn't have anything after. But we can't not talk about Douglas Luiz and the scandal of how he's not sent off for punching Patrick. It's just, this is absurd. This is utterly absurd. And I've seen Rocky's comments. Is he serious? Is he genuinely serious when he says stupid shit like this? With the intensity of the arm, we don't like to see this, and it depends on the intensity of the gesture, which is more of a stab than a hit. We don't like to see this, of course. I understand the VAR's difficulty to rule on this. What? Yeah,
I mean, it's a red card. I mean, it wasn't a punch; it was with the back of his arm, but it's a strike. It's a red card. I mean,
it's the reddest of cards. How they try to, and the fact that he goes out and says stupid shit like this.
He said stupid shit also about the penalties, stepping on the toe penalty as well last week, which was an absolute joke. Like, it was ridiculous as well. And we saw some more soft penalties. I thought the Napoli penalty will come.
It was. I mean, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
And
but
I don't understand. Like, you have the VAR for exactly this. This is literally the main reason the VAR was there, to catch red card offences, for offsides, stuff like that. This is absurd. And
it's a red card. But this is the second one. There was one against Gatti as well, which was ridiculous a few weeks ago, where it was clearest red card, which they didn't give as well.
Yeah.
And you just think, like, how can you see that and not give it? I mean,
what are you doing?
These are easy ones. I mean,
that's the thing. These are easy ones to call.
Ones, stepping on the penalties, when there's a touch. Oh, but there was a touch.
Different.
There was a
that's
touch.
Different.
Or but there wasn't enough of a touch. I think they're ridiculous as well. But it's that's an interpretation.
Exactly. There's room for interpretation.
Yeah.
But when you have these stabbing movements of an arm, which is violent conduct, isn't it? Essentially, you're not allowed to do that. And the ball isn't anywhere near.
He's lucky. He's lucky, Douglas Luiz, because he gets sent off there, and here we are talking about what a disastrous start. Again, I don't want to talk about him too much because we've got a question in the Q&A, but he's missed a sitter in this game as well.
He did. That is a horrible.
And if Juventus draw this game, then regardless of the red card, he's going to get the blame. He's going to be the one blamed if Juventus don't win this game, because you've got to put that header away. That's a sitter. That's virtually you just have to get it on target. It's not even a hard header as well. To be fair, his overall performance was a little bit better in this game. It was nothing special, but it was better. He was keeping hold of the ball. He was using it okay. It's not what you expect from a 50 million player, but it was a step forward. But yeah, he's lucky because that could have. He gets a red card here. That could completely finish him off.
Yeah, that could really end his career.
Yeah, but yeah. That's the issue. It was a red card. I'm not going to argue with that. But the positives are, again, like you said, it's another clean sheet. They've conceded 1 goal in 8 games, which was a penalty. And again, they didn't concede a single chance in this game. I mean, having said that, though, you play for over an hour against 10 men. It's quite easy, so I don't want to give them too much credit for that. But I thought Gatti and Kalulu were really, really good again. Very, very dominant. And Kalulu, of course, was decisive in this game because he was the one that got the red card. I thought Cabal, who has had a long period out, came back, and I thought he was very good. He put the cross in for the goal. I thought Fagioli was lively. He kind of increased the tempo, which was needed. Juventus too slow sometimes under Motta. That's something they fall into that a little bit too much, and he kind of got them out of it a little bit in the second half. So that he was good. But in terms of offensive performance, yeah, it was disappointing from Juve, and yeah, next game is Inter. So it's vital that they got that because if they hadn't. And then they play Inter away, they would have been already 3 points behind Inter. They would have been 5 behind Napoli. And then you drop points against Inter, or even so, going into that game, there's a lot of pressure on you. So that just does remove a little bit of pressure going into that Inter game. Lazio point of view, I mean, there's not really much to talk about because the game was conditioned, but I do want to give them some praise, though. I do want to say that I thought they were very well organised. They defended very well. We saw a new side to Lazio, which we haven't seen this season because they've been really good offensively, but been a bit, not gung-ho, but they've been going out trying to score more than they concede this season. They showed in this game, another side to them, that they could actually be disciplined, play deep with a deep defence, and really look pretty damn solid, not really concede much given the circumstances. So I actually, if I'm a Lazio fan, I actually come out of this feeling quite happy in a weird way that, we've seen that we've got what it takes to have a good season here.
No, I think I was really very impressed by them defensively as well. That's what I've got on my notes as well. I was really impressed by Lazio's defensive display. They were very organised. They moved like a unit, and that's something that under Baroni we've not really seen. It's been very much open. It's been very much good vibes in defence, because they've obviously pushed forward and prioritised their attack, which is good. Again, Tavares. I mean, what a signing!
He was outstanding.
What a signing he's been. If he continues like this, then the big clubs in Italy are looking at him. There's no doubt about that.
No, I agree.
He, if you're Inter, if you're Juve, Milan, whatever, you're looking at that and going, he could do a job for us.
He was great. He was
and Napoli as well.
He was even good defensively, and that's been his weakness. I remember him at Arsenal making some terrible defensive mistakes, but he's a beast down that side. I mean, he's a force of nature. Once he takes off, doesn't he? He just bombs forward, and he just he's like Jonah Lomu, the rugby player, bombarding, pushing his way through everyone. Like, he's unstoppable, isn't he? Once he takes off, he's so powerful, and he's quick, and he's got a good cross on him. And yeah, he was great. I thought Maricic was really good. So underrated, Maricic. He's been one of the most underrated players. He very rarely plays badly. He very rarely gets taken on by his man.
Mr. Dependability. Yeah, that's what he is.
He's very, very underrated. I mean, he doesn't offer anything going forward, which in modern football is a bit of an issue. But yeah, he was good. And I thought Gila and Patrick were great as well until that mistake from Gila. And it's just unfortunate, really, because it ruined the perfect defensive performance from Lazio. No, I was really impressed by Lazio. I'm even more so certain now about that they're going to have a good season now.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a good season as well. I think they're going to have a good season. And
they're a team as well. They play as a team.
Yes, that's exactly it. There's an identity and a collective unit there that you can see in both phases, and they work for one another, which is the most important thing, really, in football. Is do you have that cohesiveness on tactically and psychologically on and off the pitch? And I thought Lazio were unlucky to lose this game. The last man red card challenge. Look. Is it a red card? Does he actually touch him? Does he not touch him? Well, if he touches him, it's a straight red card. There's no discussion. But, given what we've seen in other games, I'm wondering, well, they're all identical, but some are red, some are not. It's weird. It was a weird weekend again by the referees, and the lack of consistency. And
the thing is, when you're moving at that pace towards goal and you touch the man, it has to be a red card because you're taking him down. And we'll come to Milan. I thought that was a bit unlucky, but it probably is a red because you're making contact with him and you're taking the player down. So
you saw it in Lecce, Fiorentina as well. I mean, it's like you saw that, but then in Roma, Cristante on Turan.
I mean, I think
it's weird.
Based on the laws, they are red cards. Do I like the law? I mean, it does ruin games. Could there be another? I mean, my opinion on penalties. I think it's an outdated concept. Is there a debate to be had about last man fouls? Should they be red cards? Is there something that we could put in? Could we maybe offer the option on the last man red card? You get the option. You can either have the red card or you can concede the penalty. Which one do you want? Maybe that could be something. And you give that option that it's up to the captain to make that decision. You
really want to turn football into like an Italian game show, don't you?
No, but do you know what I mean? Because
you're never more Italian than when you want to change the penalty rules.
I'm absolutely adamant about it. I mean, this one, listen, I think I understand it, but it does ruin games, doesn't it? I mean,
no, it does.
I remember watching the Italy against Belgium game.
Yeah.
I could barely watch it after that red card. I just thought this is just it's horrible to watch a game. But then football's not entertainment; it's just entertainment. No. It's you need rules. So
no, you do.
What are the right rules?
Look, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with this red card. But then, if you're going to give this red card in 3 games, you have to give it in the 4th and 5th, and that's my problem. This weekend was again in a situation where same situations did not end in same results.
Unfortunately, that's football, isn't it? With the referees, you're always going to get inconsistency.
Yeah, but inconsistency is one thing. But then you can't have Rocky coming out and basically going against everything else that he said. I mean, he contradicts himself all the time. And what I'm thinking is, if he does that in the media, how he talks, God knows how it sounds internally to the referees, and that's why I've not been his biggest fan as a referee designator, and I'm thinking, get rid of him. Bring Colina back or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, bring someone who knows how to communicate, who knows how to.
I didn't like his comments. I didn't like his comments on the last week before the games on the touches on the feet, touches on the toe penalties. I thought that was confusing.
But he is confusing. He doesn't know what he like. If he's.
And I also thought it was nonsense. And that brings us on nicely to Empoli Napoli, because they win this game with a penalty, which for me, again,
it's a collision. They run into each other, and the ball is there.
For me, it's again.
How is that a penalty? How is that an infringement? That's not even a free kick in the middle of the park.
I mean, it's open to interpretation. Let's say that my interpretation is, also disregarding what the law is that I think it's ridiculous that we get penalties for these kind of incidents.
That's not even a free kick in the middle of the park. It's a collision. We're challenging for the ball. Yeah. Where's the infringement? That's what I don't understand.
Listen, I agree, but I am a little bit.
For me, I'm not like you when it comes to the penalty. I think an infringement in the penalty area should be a penalty. Full stop. But this isn't even that. They clatter into one another when challenging for the ball. That's not even a free kick in the middle of the park. So how the hell is that a penalty? It is the thing that pisses me off most about football, that you've got a game like this that's 0-0. Until that point, Empoli have been the better team. In fact, they completely dominated the first half. They were so good. And then, they lose this game, or they go behind in this game, and this finished them. After that, Napoli with a much better team.
that a game is decided on an incident like this, where again, you have an 80% chance of scoring for an incident which is, like you said yourself, it's probably not even a foul in the middle in the centre circle. I mean, it's just not fair. It's just this is not football. Football. If you're going to win the game, if Napoli are going to win this game, let them win this game properly, fairly, and squarely with a moment of creation that they deserve to score the goal. Don't win it by something like this from a penalty. It's just not fair. It's not fair at all. And it decided the game. It decided the game. Napoli won the game because of it, and it's a huge win for them now because they maintain their lead at the top. And, they're 3 points ahead of Juventus. They're 2 points ahead of Inter. Inter play Juventus this weekend. Napoli plays at Lecce. They're playing. It's very, very possible. In fact, I would say probable at this stage that Inter Juve ends as a draw. And then Napoli are opening up a little bit of a gap, and it's these are the kind of incidents that can, not decide titles, but they can play a big role in winning titles. And I just don't think it's fair that they win a game like this.
No, it's not fair at all. But it's to me, it's just I just felt it was so frustrating. Again, the referees this weekend were atrocious. It was worse than match day 7. It's like I was hoping and praying last week or 2 weeks ago that this was just a one-off and they would get back to what they were doing the first 6 match days, which was overall really high quality. And instead, they've gone off the rails completely and making stupid decisions. And they got Rocky coming out saying stupid, crazy things that make no sense, confusing everyone even more. Now they got to get rid of Rocky. It's obvious that if you've been at a job for that long and you're not improving, but in fact your communication is causing confusion and just pissing everyone off, you need to go. You're not fit to have that job. And we saw that in the. I mean, the funny thing is we're not even talking. We haven't even gone to the Udinese Milan game, which was probably the most insane refereed game all weekend. That game was insanely refereed by Chiffi. Chiffi, though, let's be honest, I'm not his biggest fan. I don't think he's good enough at all. I think he's ruined so many Serie A games. But it's just exhausting.
Schiff. This is Schiff.
Yeah, Schiffi. That's his name. Schiffi. Daniele Schiffi.
Yeah, listen, look, we'll come to Milan, but let's just look. Napoli, they weren't good in this game. In fact, they were very bad in the first half. Offensively, there was nothing. Like even really, they were very, very poor offensively. We're criticising Juventus. Napoli were even worse, much worse. Lukaku.
This is how it looks.
Lukaku's performance level, his form has really, really nosedived in the last few games before the international break, and then again after this. He didn't even go on international duty. He came back to work with Conte. I don't know. Maybe Conte has given him a pre-season, a mini pre-season during this international break, and he's come into this game exhausted because of that. I would say that there's a very good chance of that because he didn't really have a proper pre-season. I think Conte's probably tried to get him into shape, and maybe he's tired, but he was terrible in this game, so bad, and he got subbed off on the hour. In fact, it was Simeone who came on for him, who actually was decisive in winning that penalty. He had the shot that was blocked, and then it came back, and then there was the foul. And Lukaku, just watch this space on Lukaku because he's gone from a great start to the Lukaku of the last 2 years in the last few matches.
This is how it looks when Conte's teams are gridlocked, when it's not working, when things are a little bit, his teams are like marching bands, aren't they? Like you need every instrument has to be perfectly tuned, and it's the collection of all the sounds together that make it really good. When you've got one instrument not a little bit out of tune, it all sounds a bit off. That's how I felt about Napoli this game. They were a little bit off. It wasn't exactly okay. They were missing Lobotka. He's very important. Gilmore wasn't exactly good. So no, it's for the Lukaku thing, I have to tell you, I wonder if Conte hasn't got him on some sort of weird Conte training regime. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he's like grinding him down to build him up, because he didn't play with Belgium, did he?
No, that's what I mean. He had 2 weeks training with Napoli.
Yeah.
I wonder whether Yeah, I think because he missed preseason. That's just my. I have no inside knowledge
No,
on that. That's just my guess.
yeah, that's my qualified
But
guess as
having
well.
said that, though, he was very bad in the 2 or 3 games before the
Yeah.
international break as well.
And maybe that's why Conte wanted him to stay, to work him. And we do know that Lukaku, even at Inter, when he was good, when he was at the peak of his powers, he's a slow starter. He needs about 4 or 5 games to get into the swing of things. And when he is, then he hits peak form. So I want to wait a little bit before we say anything. But I can't stop laughing at the idea of everyone leaving not Continassa, what's it called? Castelvolturno for international breaks, and Antonio Conte standing there alone with Romelu Lukaku for 2 weeks, riding his ass. Like, just like, you can just see that, can't you? Like from 7 a.m. to like 5 a.m. every day for 2 weeks. Like, it's just, you can just see him just completely like on him. You need to run more, you need to do this, and it's typical Conte. But let's hope he doesn't injure him for Napoli's sake. But yeah, I do think he looks like a little bit like he's like when he's in preseason. Do you know what I mean? When he's a little bit like slower, when he's not really. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, before the problem, and no one's been able to train Lukaku really well, have they, in his career except for Conte? So I think we should give Conte a benefit of the doubt here. Because Lukaku under Conte was just one of the most insane matches of like player coach matches in football history. I really can't think of a player who really explodes at every level under a coach like Lukaku under Conte. They really are born to work together. Whether or not Lukaku's, where is he in his career now? Can Conte revive him one more time? I think we have to wait and see. But I do think they've both deserved for us to give them a little bit benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, I do wonder where also, because there was a lot of players on international duty coming back, some of them playing 2 games in the space of a week. That affected Napoli's performance in this match as well, because, I've said it so many times, Napoli playing once a week are brilliant. Or Conte teams playing once a week are brilliant.
Yeah.
As soon as they play 2 times a week,
no, it
the
doesn't work.
performance
It
level
doesn't work.
definitely drops. And we saw a definite drop in performance level in this game. Having said that, though, the Napoli defense didn't drop in performance. They were great. They kept Napoli in the game when they were being completely dominated in the first half. Buongiorno was once again brilliant. He's been an incredible signing, and he was indomitable in this game. He was superb.
He's going to turn, like we said in our Serie A preview. I said in our Serie A preview, Alessandro Buongiorno is going to be one of the best defenders in the world come May, because that's what Conte is going to turn him into a monster. But even better for Italy is that he can do so playing in a back 4.
Well, it's not really relevant for Italy now because they play back 3. But
but he can play in a back 4 now.
Yeah,
but we know he can play in a back 3.
Yeah.
But he can do it playing in a back 4, and it's a kind of a back 4 that transitions to a back 3, isn't it? You got
somebody. I don't know if this question was asked of Conte or if it was just a comment from one of the pundits, but I definitely saw it somewhere. Somebody was comparing him to Giorgio Chiellini. And yeah, I mean, there are some qualities there. Certainly defending his box, I think Buongiorno is very, he's kind of not an old school defender, but he has the traditional qualities of a defender, which is defend your box, defend the balls into the box, the crosses, put your body on the line, tackles, be brave. And he has all that, which Chiellini had, and I thought he was great. And I thought Di Lorenzo was very good. He was important for the winner, and he's as expected. Conte is getting him a little bit back to the old Di Lorenzo.
And Italy now in defence have another BBC, Buongiorno, Bastoni, Calafiori. And it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. But we got to give a shout out to Empoli as well, who continue to impress me. And Sebastiano Esposito, with the mustache and the hair, he looked like 1980s players. Do you know what I mean? Like he looked like he belonged in a reel from 1985, looking like that with the sun and the smile and all that. No,
playing for Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought Empoli were outstanding in the first half. I thought they were great to watch. They play really good football, and I have to say they are performing so much better than both of us expected at
Oh,
the start of the
without a doubt.
season. You have to say well done to Daversa.
Daversa's doing a
He's really done
masterful
well,
job.
and you then start looking through the team. Who we were like looking at the team before the season, thinking, well, where are the players? Where are the players on paper to? And there's all through the team, you're looking at players that young players who look like they have good futures ahead of them. And I thought Angerin, who gave away the penalty, unfortunately, but as we said, we don't think it was a penalty. He was brilliant in this game. He was so good. He was the best player on the pitch for me. In midfield, he was dominating midfield. He was striding forward with the ball. He was really great. I mean, he looks like a real bargain signing. But I mean, Fazzini together with Fazzini, I mean, they look like that's a really good partnership. Fazzini, I mean, you've spoken about him before. We've both spoken about it. He's definitely one to watch in the coming years. Apparently,
Viti as well was good.
yeah, Vitti, yeah, very elegant, like left-footed centre back. Very good. Esposito was dangerous. I thought Petzella was excellent as well at
Yeah,
left wing back. He was
agreed.
up and down, showed good pace, and former Atalanta player. Yeah, I mean, there are lots of young Italians, Italian players. It's good to see.
It is.
I'm going to be
No,
cheering.
we
I'm
like.
going to be cheering Empoli on this season.
Yeah, I was going to say we like Empoli. Like
Yeah.
we do like Empoli. We like what they're doing.
Well, we
And
complain
it's
here about youngsters not getting a chance, Italians not getting a chance.
well,
Oh,
they do at Empoli.
yeah.
And it's not just this season. It's been for a couple of seasons now under several managers. It's not just Aversa. It's not just Andrea Azzoli.
Well,
It's been
Luciano
quite a
Spalletti
few.
was at the game. Obviously, he has a history there, but Luciano Spalletti was at the game, rumoured to be watching Fazzini and Esposito. So, yeah, there was a one volley from Esposito that was
stunning.
It was like Marco van Basten.
Yeah, I exactly what I thought as well.
Yeah.
Watching that,
It got blocked, didn't it, by Bongiorno?
Yeah,
it was
Buongiorno.
Yeah, it was. Really good to see Empoli, and very unlucky. They didn't deserve to lose this game.
No,
They did not. They did not deserve to lose. Milan, Udinese. So we're talking about refereeing. Where do you start with the refereeing in this game? And we're trying to sum it all up.
I can't sum it all up. It's just so many. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about Milan. Playing with 10 men isn't easy, and they did it for most of the game, but they still managed to win, and that's really important for them, and because that'll give them some calm. And they're in the top 4. They're only 5 points behind Napoli, so they're thereabouts, and they've kind of given themselves the continuity. Okay, they lost to Fiorentina in a crazy game, but one thing I do want to talk about, though, is the disciplinary issue at Milan. Like, what is it now? 3 games in the Serie A in a row where they've got a red card?
Yeah, it's a good point.
And you have that whole cooling break gate, as we had against Lazio. Tomori and Abraham dropped because of the Pulisic incident, where he was going to take the penalty and they took it from him.
Can I stop you there on Tomori and Abraham? I want to talk about this because I wasn't hard enough on them last week, or the week before, and I should have been. Fonseca is 100% right for dropping Tomori and Abraham. I thought their behaviour in taking that penalty off Pulisic was disgraceful. And maybe we recorded that pod early in the morning. I hadn't looked back at it. I hadn't seen exactly their role, and maybe that's why I went easy on them. That is so disrespectful. That is, to take that ball, the way that they took it off him, they kind of ripped it like, you're not having this, both of them. Who the hell do they think they are taking that off Pulisic? Pulisic is the penalty taker. He's already
the team has decided
the first penalty already has been taken off him by Teo Hernandez, which was wrong as well. Right. Yeah. But the way that it was bullying behaviour, the way that they bullied him and they just took it off him, like, we're better than you. We decided you're not taking this. But like, who are you? Like, that was just it was just shameful behaviour. That was. It really was. And I'm glad that they got they got dropped.
No, I think Fonseca did the right thing there, and I think he's had to handle issues, disciplinary issues, hasn't he? That, and he's made big calls and benched big players,
But he's
And
right here because I'm,
but the thing is, I think when it comes to discipline, you need to have, Luciano Spalletti, when he was at Inter, always, during the whole Icardi Wanda gate, always spoke about credibility. I need to have credibility when I talk to the group as a coach. I think Fonseca does have that credibility. I think he's been forced to make a lot of decisions and deal with a lot of nonsense. And I think he's so far handled it really well.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think that, listen, I have to, in some way, I have to praise Pulisic for the way that he handled himself, because I'm telling
talk
you,
about being a team
if that
player.
was me and I'm the penalty taker, and actually this has happened to me when I played, and I've had with teammates that have been pricks like that as well, and have thought that, I'm going to take the penalty. I remember one guy tried to take my number 10 shirt off me. I'm the number 10. And he tried to take it off because he thought that he was the big man. And I said, listen, there is no chance you're taking it. You've got to stand up to these players. I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God.
Like, if that was me on the pitch, I'm the penalty taker, and Tomori,
drama in Luton Town or Bedford Tigers or what they're called.
Tomori and Abraham come along and try and take the penalty off me. I'm not having it. I'm kicking off in the middle of the pitch, and I'm causing a big spectacle, which would actually have made things worse. So I mean, I have to say well done to Pulisic for that.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say,
the problem
talk about
has been
being
created by
player.
Tomori and Abraham. They've created the problem there, and it's so unfair on Pulisic. So I have to say well done to him.
I have to say too, the way that he's handled it, like throughout all of that, he just walked away, didn't kick up a fuss, didn't mope. You got to hand it to him.
He scored after, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. No, this to me, this guy's a real team player.
Yeah,
like you can tell this is a guy who you want to have in a dressing room. Pulisic, he's someone who you can, when you do like that, when you show yourself off to be the bigger person like that, and you then score like in Fiorentina game, you just you win credibility, so to speak, with your teammates, and I really want to. I look, when he signed, I said he's going to be the first US men's national team player to become a star at a big, classic, historic European club. I think he's becoming more than that. He's becoming a bit of a club, like, not legend, because Milan, you don't want to throw that around, but he's becoming a very, very likable person around Milan.
He's becoming the main man. He's becoming he's certainly the most consistent player. There's no doubt about that. And he's becoming the player to rely on. And again, in this game, he got the assist.
And also his behavior, and I thought it was
brilliant timing
pitch.
with the assist as well.
Yeah, and also his behavior off the pitch show he's proving himself behaviorally to be worthy of Milan, as well as being a very useful player.
In those ways he's got what some other players are lacking. I saw Billy Costa Curta absolutely rip it. I don't know if you saw his quotes on Rafael Leao this week. He tore into him, tore into him. Saying
I've never seen Costa Curta criticize Leao like that.
Yeah, he said he's not even in the top 100 or top 150 for being a team player and a leader and for goals and assists. Like he said, like when it comes to like a pace, like his speed, he's like top 10. When it comes to those kind of things, he's top 10. But when it comes to being a leader, when it comes to he absolutely tore into him. I'm not sure what prompted that, seeing as Leao didn't even start this game, but it was
it was strange.
But I think Pulisic sums up kind of like this is what we need, and I think that a step forward for Milan into this game was that they played with 10 men for 2/3 of the game. And I mean, I think the red card was unlucky. I don't think we can put that really down to indiscipline like the other stuff.
But the fact of the matter remains, I think that the 3 games in a row.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I think it's unlucky with it. I thought they were a bit unlucky here. But the fact that they played with, from the positive point of view, the fact that they played with 10 men for 2/3 of the game, and they were that organised as a team. They played as a team in terms of organisation, and they conceded barely anything really clear cut with 10 men. I mean, Udinese, I think they only had a 0.41 XG in this game. And I mean, there was a goal at the end that they got a little, I mean, we'll come to that. They got a little bit, a little bit of luck, let's say. And that they get given offside for that. But, I thought they played as a team, and we need to see more of that because that's where Milan are short.
Agreed.
They're not a team.
No, and I wouldn't say they're
not a team. But you know what I mean? They're lacking.
They're becoming a team. They're not there yet.
They're lacking the team qualities. Let's say certainly that Inter, Juventus, and Napoli have.
Yeah. No, they are, but they're on their way. They're moving in the right direction, and I think it's important to say that because I think, and one of the people who has become the most important player in that transition is Christian Pulisic, and we have to acknowledge that he's been really, really good. He's been very useful, and he's proving himself to be a bit of a leader in this Milan side. and they need, every team needs a leader, and after Giroud and Zlatan, you need people who step up in the right manner, and I think Pulisic has done that pretty much since
the referee calls. Before we move on, can you let's go through all of them first. Reinder's red card, then the Pavlovic handball penalty call, and then the goal at the end that got disallowed from Udinese. How do you see them?
Well, an offside is an offside. I mean, there's not much to. I don't really, it's unlucky, but if it's offside, it's offside, and there's not much you can do. But the Pavlovic handball is disgraceful. That's a disgraceful call, and I don't understand what they're thinking. Again, with the consistency, it's just Kiffy should not be near another Serie A game. And this is not the first time with him. He consistently does this. He consistently derails games by inexplicable decisions. And I just, it's exhausting. I feel so bad for Udinese. I thought they did really well. I thought they've really surprised me this season. Together with Empoli, they have to be considered the biggest surprise so far, right? I mean, given what we expected them to be in their mercato and new coach, but it's they should have created more. Of course, 10 man with 1 man more, but still, it's Milan at the San Siro. There is a giant gulf in quality between Udinese and Milan. But I thought what I like about Udinese this season is I like how mature they are. I like how they approach games. They don't. They've got they've got the maturity about how they handle situations on the pitch this season, which they didn't have last season, and they believe in what they do. But to get back to the referee thing, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just, this weekend was way worse than the previous one, match day 7, and Kiffy was the worst offender in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
What you
No,
think?
yeah, I think I think it was. Listen, whenever the referee becomes the main attraction of a game, there's always a bit of a problem, isn't there? And
Well, yeah, but I think it depends on the
it
situation.
depends on the situations, but in this kind of this game, it was really all about the referee, wasn't it? This game, let's be honest, and it's a shame. I hate talking about referees. I don't want to talk about them at all. It pisses me off when people, especially fans, are going, "Oh, the team did this, and then this team did it." I mean, it's annoying.
No, but this weekend was the second match day in a row where it was consistently shit show across the board.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
and it's like
the general level was not good enough.
Very low.
Not good enough.
I think listen, it's such a shame because the first 6 match days were really good. It was encouraging.
Yeah. From Udinese's point of view, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed that they couldn't make the most of having been an hour with a man up, and they really didn't create much at all. And so that's disappointing after their good start to the season. And
I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the goal? Do you think that's a goalkeeping mistake? Because
No.
I think Okoye was good.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think he hits it early, hits it first time. When you hit it that early across the keeper, the goalkeeper can't get into position, can't move his feet. He isn't set. If he takes a touch and then scores like that, then yeah, maybe. But I don't think so. I don't think so. But I mean, I'll let me watch it again. And see,
I don't know either, but I thought Okoye was
so.
good. I thought Okoye was
I
great.
thought he made a brilliant save from Pulisic in the second half.
Yeah, he did.
It was
That was a
outstanding.
great save. I think he had a great game, but overall, I don't know what to make of that for the goal. Is it a mistake? Isn't it a mistake? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't think it was, but I'll need to, let me look at it again. But I do just want to point out Isak Toure at the back for Udinese, new signing, 6'9". That's in modern language, modern using that's 2
He should be playing
meters.
basketball.
Yeah, 2 meters 6 centimeters. That is a basketball player. That's
He's massive.
That's insane.
Massive.
He is absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. So he's definitely one to watch over. He went on one run in the first half. We galloped down the left-hand side, just bombarded Nuno Tavares style past everybody. But he's keep an eye on him this season because he's certainly one to watch. Atalanta quickly, they win 2-0 at Venezia. All about that man, Mateo Retegui again. What a class finish. Chips the goalkeeper for the second goal. I love that finish because, again, one of my criticisms of modern football is you just don't see chipped goals anymore. Mainly because the balls are so plastic that they don't come up and down. Like the old kind of leather footballs. They would come up and then they would dip down. With plastic balls, they just kind of float. And it's very difficult if you try and chip the keeper to get it to like a falling leaf, to get it to fall down. He managed to do it with his finish for the second goal. It was beautiful. It was pure class finish.
His assist for the first goal, his chip for the second, his hold-up play, his link-up play. This new Mateo Retegui is just wow. What Giampiero Gasperini has done with him over the space of a few months is truly remarkable. At this point, so far, if you look at these 8 games that he's played, how he's performed in them, he starts for Inter, he starts for Milan, he starts for Juve, he starts for Napoli. There's no doubt about that. He's the complete number 9 striker, and there is no discussion whether or not he should start for Italy. He is Italy's starter. Full stop.
Oh, yeah, even if Scamacca hasn't had his ACL.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This Retegui, we've not seen that. We've never seen this.
No, and he presses. He fights.
Yes.
He's got a great work rate. He's not a lazy ass like Scamacca is. He's
lazy.
I mean, he's got 8 and 8 this season for Atalanta. Yeah. Double figures this season already if you include his Italy goals. And he's top scorer in Serie A. But like you said, it's
everything else. The goal scoring we knew he had. He's a killer, and that's why I had him as a capocannoniere, because by virtue of being a killer in the box, Atalanta creating as much as they do, he takes penalties. He's going to score a lot. But what I didn't expect or have not seen in his career ever until this point, and anyone who says anything contrary to this is lying, because no one saw this, he didn't show this, was the top class number 9 level of overall play without possession.
I'm so happy because I just hope he can keep it up, and this isn't just some kind of miracle 3-month spell. But I mean, he's been great, and my only concern, I just hope he doesn't get overplayed by Atalanta because they just don't have another number 9, and that's one of my criticisms of them, of their transfer market. They didn't buy a backup centre midfielder for Ederson, and they didn't buy a backup number 9 for Retegui, and those 2 players risk being overplayed because there's no alternative for them. That's my only concern. I don't want him to get burnt out and exhausted, and when it comes to the end of the season or next season, like the World Cup, when it's important matches for Italy and for Atalanta, that he's not in shape, he's tired, and that's my only concern. So I hope that Gasperini can find a way to rotate, whether that means playing Lookman as a number 9 sometimes, or maybe somehow trying to adapt Zaniolo into a number 9 role, or something like that, or goes out and buys a number 9 in January, which is what I would like them to do. I would like them to go out.
He's such a good age too, Retegui. He's only 25. Like this is a good age. I mean, if he can keep this up, then he will be the starter for Italy as a number 9 for the next 5 years. Yeah. No doubt about it. And that's so important.
If he's playing like he is on this form that he is this season, definitely.
To be honest with you, I'm wondering, where does he go next? I can't see him staying at Atalanta because he's going to. He was always going to be sold if he becomes a capocannoniere, which I think he definitely will be. The question is, if he continues to play like this level of high, and if he does so in the Champions League as well, where does he go next? Because there's not that many number 9s in the world, and who play this good as far as number 9s go. So we're talking like the top teams in Europe who are looking for a striker.
No, I agree.
If he continues like this, that's how impressive.
Based on his level this season, and we're only talking about 2 months.
Well, you could easily see him at Arsenal, can't you?
They need a number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just interviewed Lauren from the old Arsenal player today. That will come out probably Tuesday.
I mean, he would be unbelievable. I mean,
he said they need to buy number 9. So yeah.
the former Invincibles, the legend.
Yeah.
No, look, he would walk into every single Serie A team playing like this season. And it's not talking about the goals. I'm talking about the overall everything, the link up, the hold up, the movement without possession, with possession, putting others into play, making others better, assists. He's really, really taken the steps. And Gasperini, again, you got to give it to them. The man knows how to. He knows how to improve players. That's for damn sure, especially attacking players. And Retegui has been unbelievable under Gasperini so far.
Yeah, he certainly has. No doubt about that. Let's move on to. Well, let's just quickly go through the rest of the Serie A fixtures before we finish off with Champions League and Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. So Como drew 1-1 with Parma. Genoa 2, Bologna 2. A late fight back for Gilardino. 2 Pinamonti goals probably save Gilardino the sack, I think. And Bologna draw yet again. They are the draw specialists. They will be kicking themselves after dominating the first half. Cagliari 3, Torino 2. But
what a crazy game that was. I mean, the Linetti scored a beautiful goal. And it was a couple of hits of woodwork as well. Now this was a very, very fascinating game, and Cagliari win at home for the first time this season. They've got and Davide Nicola, who is just a character on the sidelines. Now this was a very entertaining game. It was probably my favorite of the weekend, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
Of course it was. The game between the two smallest teams. But Torino, the concerns are there. The fans are very unhappy as well. A bit like the Roma fans. They are furious, and the Genoa fans furious with the club and the business they've done in the transfer market. Lecce 0, Fiorentina 6 is the biggest other game. I mean, great for Fiorentina. They're starting to get going now, although they did get a couple of injuries, didn't they? We have to wait and see how serious they are to Keane and Goodmanson. So that could be a concern. But yeah, Gotti for Lecce.
Yeah,
Can he survive this?
Yeah, I think they need to do something because Lecce are sinking without a trace. It's one thing. We knew it was going to be difficult, and they have played Atalanta, Inter, they've played Milan and Fiorentina, so they've not had an easy run of games. But the way that Fiorentina dismantled them, dismembered them, ripped them limb by limb by limb, and the way that Lecce stopped playing, and this was at home at Via del Mare, that is very concerning. Yes, I know the red card, and we've already spoken about it, last man challenge, but I wonder if Colpani, if Gotti doesn't.
Apparently, the word is that they've decided to continue, at least for another game. But yeah, he's definitely in the hot seat, as they say in Italy. I mean, there's quite a few, according to the Italian media. Those that risk their job are Gilardino, obviously, Gotti at Lecce, Nesta at Monza. But we're recording this before Monza play on Monday, so we'll see what happens there. And Di Francesco, of course, at Venezia, that goes without saying. But they're even saying Juric at Roma is at risk as well.
You know what? I'm not surprised by that because
I think it's a bit ridiculous after that number of games. But the chaos off the pitch is.
Yeah, and the Friedkins are they look clueless, and they seem to be the kind of owner who sacks the manager when things to save.
Wouldn't surprise if they bring De Rossi back. That wouldn't surprise.
It wouldn't surprise me either. One iota.
Yeah,
and he would do it, and he would be like. Then they would, but the problem is if you bring De Rossi back, you cannot ever sack him again. Like he will stay for as long as he wants.
They'll probably keep him just to get the fans off the back. Bring him back to.
That's how they seem to operate, unfortunately. Yeah. But we have to talk about Cataldi's free goals. He scored twice, Colpani twice. Colpani's second goal was stunning, and Cataldi scored a beauty as well. They were for me. They were the goals.
Just after we got a question on the Q&A about why the hell did Lazio get rid of him, he does that.
He goes and scores a brace. Yeah.
Monday evening game is Hellas Verona against Monza. Big game for Nesta's future. Right, Champions League fixtures this week. I'll quickly run down them. So match day 3, Milan against Club Brugge, Juventus, Stuttgart, Aston Villa, Bologna on Tuesday, Atalanta, Celtic and Young Boys Inter on Wednesday. And then Europa League, we've got Roma, Dynamo Kiev, Twente, Lazio, and then the Conference League, St. Gallen, against Fiorentina. The big one really is Milan Club Brugge. It's a must.
Milan have to win that.
Yeah, they have to
There's
win.
no discussion. It's a must-win game for Milan. They have to win.
Yeah, if they don't win that, then there is the very real risk that they fail to qualify. Yeah. They've got 0 points after the first 2 matches. Yeah. They have to win that. No excuses at all.
No.
Whereas
they're at home, so yeah.
Whereas Juventus, Atalanta, Inter are they've started pretty well, and then Bologna.
Yeah, but Inter have to beat Young Boys.
They have to beat them, but they're not. It's not last chance.
For Juve can afford a draw against Stuttgart. It's not the end of the world if that happens. And Atalanta Celtic, I think Atalanta will win that as well. I believe it. Atalanta this season in Europe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Celtic are not the strongest team in Europe. They got hammering, didn't they, in the last game against Dortmund? And Europa League, Roma must win a game as well. They've only got 1 point from the first 2 matches, and with the 1 point in the last 3 games, 1 goal in the last 3 games. Juric, they have to get a win here, otherwise, like we said, the pressure really will be on him. It really will be on him. Yeah, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. So Baggio of the week, I've got one away from the world of calcio, and that is Panathinaikos deciding to pay the remainder of George Baldock's contract to his wife to pay for to help pay for his 1-year-old son after his tragic death during the international break. So I think that's a lovely gesture.
I think that's a beautiful gesture as well.
Yeah.
I think that would be beautiful. It was such a tragic. It was really tragic to see.
It was awful. Yeah.
Awful. Rest in peace. And yeah, like I said, I think Cataldi and Colpani's finishes and Lautaro's finish, of course, as well. That qualifies in the Baggio character in the Baggio section.
Yeah, Retegui as well, just for the throwback chipped finish, which we never see anymore.
Stunning.
Premface of the week. Gosh, we got a lot. We've got loads of Premfaces this week. The English media response to Thomas Tuchel's appointment was unbelievable. Take your pick. I mean, I did a little.
Listen, Dean Ashton is. I wonder if he was like he just hit. Yeah, this is a direct quote. Yeah, Thomas Tuchel won the Champions League with Chelsea, but Frank Lampard got them out of the group stage.
I like Danny Mills. I like Danny Mills saying that Thomas Tuchel doesn't come across as an English manager because he wears a hoodie and a cap, not a suit like Gareth Southgate.
What? That makes okay.
Not a suit. Do you know where he gets his? Do you know where Gareth Southgate used to get his suits from? Marks and Spencers.
Get out of here! No, he doesn't.
Yes.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he did. They were Marks and Spencer suits.
Okay. I think we can sort Thomas Tuchel out. God, yeah.
But some of the response was hilarious. The fact that he's German and all this stuff. I mean, it was pure. Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yeah, but yeah, what's his name? Dean Ashton's comments were just they sent me into another level. Like I couldn't stop laughing. It was hilarious.
But there were some other fantastic ones. I mean, Mark Goldbridge, whose real name is Brent Di Cesare actually supports Nottingham Forest. Yeah, he went mad. But Marco van Basten was criticising Ten Hag for signing Ugarte and saying that he basically said he's not good enough for Man United. And Mark Goldbridge tweeted, Van Basten, overrated, mishit a volley in 88 and lived off it forever. Just a Dutch Toby.
He had 3 Ballon d'Ors, did he? How many did he have? What?
3 Ballon d'Ors, yeah. Yeah. Only, for me, the greatest, or not necessarily the greatest, the most complete number 9
striker,
in history, for me. The most complete. Like
he really didn't have any
had
weaknesses.
Everything. Yeah.
He had no weaknesses. He was technically unbelievable. He was good in the air. He could really do. He had a fantastic
brilliant,
shot.
Physically brilliant, mentally brilliant, 2-footed, brilliant in the air, scored both-footed, scored with both feet, could hold up the ball, could create for others, you could go long ball to him, you could go short to him, he was the perfect number 9.
And the way that his body, for me, the way that he controlled his body and transformed his body from like in difficult situations and goal scoring chances. For me, the 1988 Euro semi-final against West Germany, when he scores that winner against Jürgen Kohler, who was probably the best, together with Baresi and them, one of the, if not the best, one of the best man markers in football. He would not give you an inch.
No.
The way that he turns that, all of that in one movement, the ball, the pass, the slide shot behind, that is just iconic.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it was brilliant. Ironically, it was Kohler who basically ended his career by always hacking him from behind. John Barnes on Talk Sport criticising England for the way that they tried to play all their superstars in the same team. He goes, "How Spain don't cram stars into their team like England? Lenormand, who is playing in Saudi Arabia, and Fabian Ruiz, no one has even heard of him."
Oh my God. And I don't want to criticize John Barnes too much.
I love George Barnes, but that was
and he's a childhood hero of mine, so I can't. But yeah, that is bad. That's really bad. That's
hilarious.
Absolutely awful.
Isn't Lenormand that plays in Saudi Arabia, by the way? It's
it's
Laporte. It's Laporte. And then finally, this is hilarious. Forget about the politics, but just think about this. There was a person ripping down Greek flags at a Greek restaurant because he thought they were Israel flags. Good. When he's told that they're dumb Greek flags.
But that can't be real.
I've seen the video of it. It's absolutely
I've seen the video, but that has to be sort of like...
staged? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It was hilarious anyway. It was staged,
this isn't like... Nowadays, everybody knows how... Like, come on.
Yeah.
If you don't... It's not like... Everyone... It's like some countries you just know their flag because you've either been there, like, you know, it's a big holiday resort, it's got lots of history. Everyone knows the Greek flag. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just of course you know how the Greek flag looks. I think that's staged. I'm sorry.
It was so funny though. And Serie Ass of the week. I don't want to get political, but I'm just going to say Italy fans. If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say on that. Any other Serie Asses? I mean, the referees.
I think the referees and Rocky, like his comments make everything worse. And I think the fact that he seems completely unable to run that organization, and it seems that he's causing more confusion with his comments. That he says one thing early on before the seasons, and then he changes it, and then once he's asked to comment on it, he just causes more confusion. I think Rocky needs to leave. Like, they need to find someone else who knows how to control an organization, who knows how to communicate internally and externally without creating confusion and pissing everyone off even more.
Yeah. Rocky needs to be knocked out. Let's leave it at that. We will be back this week on...
tomorrow, Tuesday,
for an interview with Lauren, the former Arsenal invincible right back, who we spoke to earlier today, and we asked him about some Serie A related stuff, which I think you'll find interesting, and Arsenal related stuff as well. And then
Wednesday for patrons, it's the Q&A pod.
Yeah.
And on Thursday, it's the midweek review show. Those two are the
midweek review show, ones. Which will mainly be Champions League review.
Yeah, on Thursday. Which those two last ones, the Q&A and the midweek review show, are for patrons only. So patreon.com/TIFB.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.